The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
And you're going to love it.
Okay, let's go.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Friday. Hope you guys had a good week. For some reason, that reminded me of Jim Carrey in Pet Detective, where he goes, I think the guy was like putting his breast against the glass wall at prison, and he goes, "Oh, Billy, hope you guys had a good week." All right, my bad. Anyway, all right, let's see. Did you guys get a chance to listen to Pastor Dr. Bob Teal? What a nice guy. What a nice guy that guy was. I really enjoyed recording with him. If you didn't get a chance, give it a listen over the weekend. Honestly, I think it was really a great episode to answer a lot of questions when it comes to, Jesus Christ and Christianity. And, I will tell you what I am becoming very clear in is that, the true believers of these religious faiths, and whether that's Christianity, whether that's Islam for the Muslims, whether that's Judaism for the Jewish people, and then Christianity for the Christians and Catholicism and all that. I mean, honestly, the people that are the real ones when it comes to those religions, they love each other. They really do. And they don't hate each other. And there is no natural division, for example, between Christianity and Islam. I mean, to me, that becomes proven in many ways, by guys like Pastor Bob. And I think he really did a great job in that episode, at least helping me understand that, Muslims think that Jesus Christ is the Messiah. I mean, that's pretty legit. I'm not kidding. I didn't know that. I really didn't know that. And when I think about that, and then I think like, okay, if you are a Christian, if you are a believer in Jesus Christ and a true follower of Jesus Christ, I have to imagine the number one thing you look for in other human beings, and obviously I'm generalizing here, but one of the top things you look for in another human being is for that human being to also believe that Jesus is the Messiah, because that's what you believe, right? Like you would think that'd be pretty important to somebody. And if not important in terms of like being friends with people, I would think that in their mind, if they met someone else that agreed Jesus was the Messiah, I have to imagine, that's something you bond over, right? And so how crazy is it that that's what the Muslim religion believes? They believe Jesus is the Messiah. So if you are like a devout Christian and you really respect that fact, I think that's pretty insane that the billions of Muslims out there support you on that, and they believe the same thing. And again, I'm trying to bring this to the forefront a little bit because, I've said this many times over the past several months, and I have to tell you, it's being exasperated. Let me make sure that's the right word. Yeah, I guess that is the right word. It means intensely irritated and frustrated. And so, again, this religious divide between Christianity and Islam is being exasperated by the Trump administration. And it really is, man. It really is. Now, obviously, there is another factor in this, and I'm not going to get into that today, but I'm telling you that in a 30,000 foot manner, I'm seeing the narrative creation of the religious, let's say, divide, but I think it's going to be more than a divide. I think it's going to be something that gets leveraged to basically do other nefarious things. And again, I'm talking about Christianity versus Islam, Christians versus Muslims. All right. So there's that. And yeah, I really learned a lot. I did. I learned a lot from that episode with Pastor Bob, and I'm going to bring him back on, and I'm going to ask more questions to just educate us. Okay. All right, before I get into some clips, I am going to read from a text thread. Yep, I think you know who this is with. Man, my text thread after my bro date with Todd Keene and Jeff Brunca is just turned into just such joy. Such joy. There are two main things that we talk about. One is health, and the other one is something else. And I'm not going to bring that into this podcast. I'm just not. All right. So Todd texted me and said, Dr. Ray, what's the best nuts to snack on? Raw almonds that are unroasted and unsalted? And I was so tempted to reply to him and say, I mean, I think you know what I'm going to say, but I was so tempted to send him a GIF that said, D's nuts. But I did not do that. I did not send him D's nuts. And instead, I said, yes, almonds unsalted are much better. Remember, salt and sugar, anytime you cannot consume extra of these two, the better off you are. So let me just drive home the nuts learning. These are what we've learned, what Todd and I and Jeff learned from talking about these nuts. Almonds, amazing. Walnuts, super good. So here's like the top 5 when it comes to nuts, okay? You've got almonds, walnuts, pistachios, and cashews. Okay, let's keep it at those. Those are the top 4. Now, here's the thing, and honestly, here's the problem with my consumption of nuts. Man, there's just so many jokes in this. It's feel free to make them to yourself. But here's the problem with my consumption of those nuts, and that is you have to really have portion control. You really do have to have portion control when you have nuts, because I tend to, and especially with walnuts, I just grab a handful. And a handful of walnuts, they are very, very caloric intensive. And so even though you're getting some protein, you're getting fiber, you're getting good fat, you're getting a lot of calories. And when you use nuts as a snack, you're probably eating much more calories than you even realize. You might have 2 handfuls, and that's like 600 calories. It really is. It's a lot. So I guess overall, the advice I'd give you for having nuts as part of your regimen is you have to be incredibly careful about your portion control. Maybe have like 5 at a time and limit yourself to that. Something we talked about was if you're using it for like your late afternoon snack or something, that if you're hungry before dinner, maybe have five nuts and then maybe have an apple with it, something along those lines. Or have an apple with peanut butter. I'm telling you, man, peanut butter, well, I guess that's from a nut. That is definitely my go-to these days. But anyway, just to finish on nuts, again, what you want is you want unsalted. You want to stay away from anything that says roasted, anything that basically says like honey roasted or any of that stuff. I mean, they're going to be delicious, but they are going to be heavy in calories, obviously, and then also with the honey roasting process, or if they're salted, now you're adding sugar and you're adding salt. Those are the 2 demons, man. They really are. Sugar and salt. Anytime you can limit your excess intake of anything that is high in sugar and high in salt, please do that. That honestly is going to put you on an incredible road to good health. Okay, final thing on nuts is And this one's interesting because it also kind of plays in a little bit to the unfortunately the capitalism of America for sure is. Do you want to know what is the worst nut to have? Any idea? What is the worst nut to have? And by far, it is macadamia nuts. Macadamia nuts because they're crazy high in calories. And I remember Costco being big on I forget what brand, but macadamia nuts became like a craze. And again, I was about to say it's nuts. I guess it is nuts that something becomes a craze for all the wrong reasons, and it's terrible for you health wise. Pecans also. I'm very surprised at that. I thought maybe pecans were better, but pecans are a sugar magnet. So definitely do not, if you can, I guess, choose, do not have macadamia nuts, do not have pecans. The other one, and again, I mean, this is funny. I'm literally remembering these being major brands at Costco, is pine nuts. Pine nuts are tiny, but they're tricky. So they are super high in omega-6 fatty acids, and omega-6 fatty acids basically cause inflammation, and they're also super calorie dense. And then pine nuts, the little pine nuts, they don't satiate you. So you have them and then you're hungry again like 20 minutes later. And so, with those, a lot of times you'll see pine nuts for salads. So if you want, I mean, maybe sprinkle them on your salad a little bit, but definitely do not snack on pine nuts. They're tiny. You're going to end up eating a ton of them and you're going to end up taking in a crazy amount of calories. And then again, the last two, I mean, stay away from any kind of nut that says salted mixed nuts. That's like a sodium storm right there. So anything that says salted, stay away from that. And then again, anything that's honey roasted anything, it's like they're disguising deliciousness with trying to play on really trying to play on the healthy, I guess, mindset when you think of honey. I mean, that's another one. I'm going to need to do a deep dive episode on honey. I think honey's a total scam. I think basically we get it from bees for free, and people have turned that into like, oh, it's a wonder food or a superfood, and honey's amazing. It's from bees. Yeah, dude, it's not. It's full of sugar. And so you're going to have crazy spikes in your insulin levels. So, anyway, all right, that's a little recap of nuts, and that is nuts that I talked about nuts for that long, but let's move on. All right, I want to play a couple clips for you guys. Man, this country's a mess, man. It is really a mess. It's worse now than it's been the past 4 years. And I told you guys, I really did. I did say, do not think this Trump win, everyone's going to just be like, okay, cool, let's get back to life in from 2012 or even 2016. Okay, we can tolerate the mean tweets, but let's just get back to being normal. But I will say this, I mean, I did think that the liberal left, thank you, Greg Stoker, the liberal side of things, I did think they would make it difficult on Trump. I did, and the administration. But I'll tell you what I did not anticipate is I did not anticipate this administration being kind of so reckless and careless, and I'm sorry, man. I know a lot of my friends are Trump supporters, but dude, it's bully ball, man. It is bully ball with so many things. And the anchor of it is this whole, deportation of students that are expressing their First Amendment rights about things. I mean, it's pretty insane, and it's leading to a mess, and it's leading to like the Department of Justice and the government Trump administration side is suing states, and then states are suing the Trump administration. Let's start off with who the Trump administration is suing.
Should transgender athletes be allowed to participate in girls' sports? Well, the Trump administration has said no.
The Department of Justice will not sit by when women are discriminated.
Today, Attorney General Pam Bondi sued the state of Maine, alleging that it is violating Title IX, a federal anti-discrimination law, by allowing transgender athletes to participate in girls' sports in that state.
We have repeatedly notified Maine of its infractions and urged them to remedy the situation to protect women.
All right, really quick before I play the rest of this. You know, again, I'm not for this transgender men becoming women and then competing against biological women in sports. I'm just not supportive of that. So I don't really fault Pam Bondi in this, and I don't really fault the Trump administration. I guess my bigger point is, does it really need to get to this point? I mean, that just kind of blows me away. It does. I'm sorry. I don't think transgender athletes should be competing. Well, transgender men who now are identifying as women, that's totally fine. You do you, boo. But you don't get to go out and dominate women in sports. I just don't think that's legit. All right, let's listen to the rest of this.
Now, this follows a highly publicized clash between President Trump and the governor of that state, where she refused to implement President Trump's ban on transgender athletes and said, "See you in court." Well, now that is a reality with this lawsuit. Now, the state of Maine has said there are only 2 transgender athletes participating in girls' sports, but the Attorney General said in a press conference today they are looking at suing other states over this as well.
All right, so think about that. Think how crazy it is that this lawsuit is happening between the Trump administration and the state of Maine over 2 transgender athletes. Okay, now, you know, I had this conversation with a buddy of mine from college over DM and Instagram, and I was actually very surprised. God, I might have talked about this before. I'm not going to mention his name, but he himself was a Division I basketball player, and he's got daughters. And I was very surprised he was like on the pro transgender side. I really was. But here's my biggest takeaway is we're doing all this over 2 athletes. Now, someone is going to say, yeah, see, it's just 2 people. Who cares? Well, I'll tell you who cares. The 2 girls that lose to those 2 transgender men, and they literally have practiced their entire lives and put hundreds, if not thousands of hours into becoming the best at their respective female sport. And then they end up losing to, 2 guys that 6 months ago, were the worst ranked male athletes in their sport. And now they're the number 1 female athlete. That was the case with that Leah Thomas, I think, the swimmer from UPenn, and Riley Gaines. So what's crazy to me is we are wasting all this taxpayer money to litigate this for 2 athletes. And quite frankly, I'm not of the mindset that those 2 athletes should get the benefit of the doubt. I'm the exact opposite. I think those 2 athletes should not get the benefit of the doubt as men whom are transgender. Again, totally supportive of you being transgender, but I don't think you get the right to basically take the dreams of those 2 girls away. I literally think about it like, man, if that was my daughter that practiced her entire life to get to that point, and she loses to somebody that was a man, or that is a man, I guess biologically, but they identify as a woman. I don't know, man. I don't think that's right. I don't. And I don't think we should kind of let it go because it's just 2 people. I think we should let it go because it's just 2 people, but not in favor of the 2 people, in favor of the people that would basically lose out for that. I hope that made sense. I think it did. Okay, let's move on to the next one, where now you've got a state suing the Trump administration.
Today, I announced a lawsuit on behalf of the state of California suing the Trump administration. California is the largest manufacturing state in our union, one of the largest trading partners around the globe. No state will be impacted more than the state of California as it relates to the unilateral authority that's being asserted by the Trump administration to impose the largest tax increase in modern American history.
All right, Gavin Newsom is making waves, man. Gosh, I don't even remember if I've told you guys he has his own podcast now, and I don't know if you've seen that, but he did launch his own podcast, and it came out to really kind of awful reviews, not necessarily about the content of the podcast, but about the people that he brought on. His first guest was Charlie Kirk, who is like a super conservative, kind of younger guy that's one of the top guys in the conservative Republican social media influencer space. And then he brought Steve Bannon on. Steve Bannon's another guy that was a huge, Trump supporter. I think he still is. He's actually the guy that keeps talking smack about being okay and almost advocating for a third term for Trump. We talked about Trump versus Obama. Would you be okay with that? And I would not. I do not think it's constitutional at all. And I don't care if it's Trump or Obama. I don't think either one of those guys should get a third term. I think you're overstepping serious bounds right there. And quite frankly, I've kind of lost respect for Steve Bannon for being so much an advocate of that. And then I think I played a Trump clip or whatever. But anyway, Gavin had Steve Bannon on. So he caught a lot of flack among his base, like the liberal left. Thanks, Greg Stoker. And, I will say this is definitely strategic by Gavin. I'm telling you, I don't know why some people do not think Gavin Newsom is going to be the 2028 Democratic nominee. I totally think he is. It literally could be Gavin Newsom AOC. It could be a Newsom AOC ticket, Gavin AOC. That really could be the ticket. And now that I think about it, I'm going to make that call today, April 18th. Oh my God, I can't even believe this has taken this long. Shout out to my brother. It's his birthday today. Holy mackerel. Wow, that is like lame on me for not remembering that at the beginning of the episode. I didn't quite realize the date. But today is April 18th. So if you are friends or my brother, send him a note. Happy birthday, Bobby D. Best brother in the world. Happy birthday to you. All right. That's you know what? This will be very memorable. April 18th, 2025, I am making the call. I think it's going to be a Gavin AOC ticket in 2028. All right. We'll come back to this in 3 years and see if I was right. Okay. So anyway, the Gavin Newsom stuff, the suing of the Trump administration over the tariffs. It'll be interesting to see, California has a huge port in Long Beach / San Pedro, where I think a big percentage of overseas goods comes through that port. I am curious if Gavin Newsom will be able to not collect tariffs on the goods that come through that port. That'll be interesting. Okay, so in a nutshell, on those two clips, I think it's honestly crazy that there feels like there's no adults left in the room and that we cannot come to terms with each other on all of this stuff. And it's just becomes a drain of taxpayer money with states suing the federal government suing states. I think it's a mess, man. That just is such a perfect analogy to what a mess things are right now. And I don't like it. I don't like it. All right, let me see what else I want to play. Oh my God, I need to talk about this. So did you guys see this all-female, and I'm putting the word crew in air quotes, that went up in Jeff Bezos's Blue Origin little space shuttle or whatever you want to call that thing, but they were up in space for like, some said 11 minutes, and then it was like 3 minutes. It was Katy Perry, Gayle King, Bezos's girlfriend, Lauren Sanchez, and then I think a few others. Anyway, so ridiculous. Actually, my favorite my favorite tweet that I saw was somebody said, if being up in space for 3 minutes makes you an astronaut, then I guess I'm a gynecologist. Wait, did I read that right? Yeah, I think I did. If going to space for 3 minutes makes you an astronaut, I guess that makes me a gynecologist. I think that was a little play on a man, being in a certain female part for 3 minutes, and that makes him a gynecologist. But listen to this, man. There's tons of clips of people just shredding this thing. And, some people were shredding it from the standpoint of, with everything going on in the world and with all the suffering, as well as all the people being pinched by inflation and all that, like, this is such a inappropriate and, quite frankly, just disgusting flex for a bunch of wealthy women to kind of play astronaut or try to play astronaut. So some people were ridiculing it along those lines, but then there's a lot of people that were calling it fake and basically saying this is not real, this is BS, and this was all green screened, kind of Hollywood. Give this guy a listen. This is just some random dude that basically came out and put this clip together, and I posted this on the Deep Shallow Dive Instagram page, and it's getting a lot of traction.
Something is definitely not adding up, and I'm gonna be the one to say it. Somebody gotta be lying. I was watching the live footage from when the capsule came from space. Y'all gonna see it too. But somebody that was in the capsule opened the door, opened the hatch from inside the capsule, y'all.
Let me jump in real quick. So yeah, this was what really set the internet ablaze, because somebody opened the door from inside, and you're not supposed to be able to open the door from inside. Now, I'm assuming that's like a safety precaution in case when somebody's quote unquote in space, they don't accidentally open the door, but it literally opens, and you see this person next to Jeff Bezos. It's Jeff Bezos and some woman outside, and she runs to it and basically kind of shuts it. But again, it's all in the clips. You can find this on the Deep Shallow Dive Instagram page and Facebook, actually. But all right, let's listen to the rest of this guy.
So when the door opened from the capsule, a lady that was standing by Jeff Bezos ran over to the door and said something, probably like, don't do that. You can't do that. It's showing. Don't open it. Don't open it. But it was already too late, y'all. It was on live feed. But they still had to try to play it off somehow. So the people from the live crew that was talking was like, Jeff Bezos is about to open the door from the outside. He about to open the hatch. And then Jeff Bezos went over there with some little key or whatever, and then he act like he was opening the door when we all just seen that the door opened from the inside. That's not supposed to happen. You cannot open that capsule from the inside. It's pressurized. It's closed from the outside and locked and sealed. So how did they open it? Somebody on that jump opened it. So you mean to tell me they got blasted up in space?
All right, the clip cuts off there. But anyway, that was the controversy. There's tons of negative comments and really just negative feelings about the entire thing. And then Gayle King came out and expressed how upset she was that people are acting negatively. Dude, I'm telling you, man, it's a different world. The internet is relentless. The internet is relentless. If you are going to fuck around, you are going to find out, as that expression goes. You've got people that are digging in their heels to debunk anything and everything. And I'm telling you, man, this has created like hundreds of thousands of Geraldo Rivera investigative journalists. And man, you better be legit with what you're doing, or you're going to get exposed. You're going to get exposed. Exposed. Okay, let me see if there's anything else I want to play. All right, you know what? There are some other clips, but they kind of all have a theme to them, so I'll save it for next week. Okay, I'm going to take us out on a clip from Family Guy. Man, that show, I honestly, I can't say I watched Family Guy religiously, but man, I feel like I should go back and watch every episode. And that's Seth MacFarlane's creation because, wow, Family Guy, The Simpsons, South Park. I mean, honestly, they are so clever and witty and quite frankly, so inappropriate in so many ways. And I'm saying that because this clip I'm going to take you out on pretty much is that. Like it's crazy inappropriate. But there is I don't know, man, there is a level of intellect from the inappropriateness that maybe is worth digesting again as we try to digest everything. So this kind of goes along with all the religious discussions we've had as of late. And I do apologize in advance to all of my Christian brethren. But, and actually, I'd be curious. I'd be curious if anyone's offended by hearing this. Now, God, I've kind of set this up in a crazy way, but I would be curious if anybody gets offended when they hear this. But regardless, this is the Family Guy. This is on Family Guy, and it is basically Peter playing the role of Joseph, and then Mary Magdalene, obviously, whom gave birth to Jesus. So give this a listen. Have a great weekend. Get out there, get steps in, call a spade, and we'll talk to you soon.
Pull your pants down.
What?
Come on, this is our 7th date. It's completely natural. Birds do it, bees do it, dinosaurs, whom we live alongside, do it.
Joseph, I can't. Look, you're very sweet, but I have to save myself.
For who? There's only 30 people in the whole world, and you're related to half of them.
Something is telling me to wait. I'm pregnant.
From my finger?
No, you don't understand. God has blessed me with his child.
Fear not, pretty lady who ain't never had no relations. I've been sent to bring you the message that tonight you's gonna be getting pregnant with the Son of God. It's a miracle, yay!
So you're saying God got you pregnant?
Yes, Joseph. Glory in the highest.
Was he bigger than me?
Joseph, it wasn't like that. I felt nothing.
No. Little guy.
That was a great way to end it.
This episode was brought to you by the new book, Deep Shallow Dive Into You, available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hardcover and paperback. Don't forget to sign up for our new mailing list on our website at deepshallowdive.com.